Hey everyone, welcome to Sense and Sound. I'm Morgana.
And I'm Jack. This is our very first episode, and we're so excited to have you here.
We are thrilled. Thank you so much for joining us today. Notice I used thrilled instead of just excited. Thrilled is stronger, more intense. The word family is thrill, that's the noun, then thrilled, the adjective, and thrilling, also an adjective, but for the thing that causes excitement. For example, this is a thrilling moment for us.
Exactly. And speaking of excitement, today we're diving into something absolutely fascinating. We're talking about artificial intelligence and autonomous agents. But here's the thing, and this is our hook for today. Can machines actually think, or are they just really good at following instructions?
Ooh, great question, Jack. And we'll answer that by the end of this episode. But before we get there, let me explain something about questions in English. Jack used can machines think? That's present simple, modal verb can plus base verb think. We use can for ability or possibility. The structure is simple, subject plus modal plus base verb. No S, no ing, just the base form.
Perfect explanation, Morgana. Now, this episode isn't just about AI, it's about learning English naturally, using AI as our context. So you'll learn grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation, and useful expressions, all while exploring this amazing topic.
And here's our promise. We'll start simple and gradually build complexity. No long, confusing sentences, just clear, natural English. So whether you're a beginner or more advanced, you'll find something valuable here.
Before we continue, if you enjoy this episode, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We'll be creating more episodes like this, and we don't want you to miss them.
Absolutely. Okay, Jack, let's start with the basics. What exactly is artificial intelligence?
Great question, Morgana. Let's break it down. Artificial means man-made, not natural, and intelligence means the ability to learn, understand, and solve problems. So, artificial intelligence, or AI, is intelligence created by humans, not by nature.
I love how you broke that down, Jack. Notice the word family here. Artificial is the adjective. The noun is artificiality. And the adverb? Artificially. For example, this fruit is artificially flavored. Let's practice. Everyone repeat after me. Artificial, artificially, artificiality.
Good drill, Morgana. Now let's look at grammar. I said AI is intelligence created by humans. That's passive voice, present simple. The structure is subject plus is or are plus past participle. We use passive voice when the action is more important than who does it. Active voice would be humans create intelligence, but we're focusing on the intelligence itself, not the humans.
Exactly. And here's a common mistake. People sometimes say, AI is intelligence creating by humans. Wrong. It's created, not creating. The past participle, not the present participle. Remember, passive voice needs that past participle form.
Perfect correction. Now, Morgana, let's talk about what AI actually does. AI systems can recognize patterns. They can make predictions. They can even generate new content, like text or images.
Hold on, Jack. Let's analyze those sentences grammatically. You used present simple. Can recognize, can make, can generate. This is modal plus base verb again. Can expresses ability. The structure never changes, whether the subject is I, you, he, they, or AI systems. Always can plus base verb. Never can recognizes or can recognizing.
Perfect correction. Now, Morgana, let's talk about vocabulary. Recognize means to identify something you've seen before. The word family, recognize is the verb, recognition is the noun, recognizable is the adjective. For example, her voice is recognizable anywhere.
And predict? The verb is predict, the noun is prediction, and the adjective is predictable. But here's a nuance. Predictable often has a slightly negative meaning in conversation. If someone says, "You're so predictable," they might mean you're boring or too easy to understand.
Good cultural note, Morgana. Now let's talk about collocations. We say make a prediction, not do a prediction. We also say make a decision, make a choice, make an effort. The verb make collocates with many abstract nouns. This is important for natural-sounding English.
Absolutely. And speaking of natural English, Jack, here's a question for you. How is AI different from regular computer programs?
Excellent question, Morgana. Traditional programs follow explicit instructions. If this happens, do that. They can't adapt, but AI can learn from data and improve over time.
Let's pause there, Jack. You used can't, which is the contraction of cannot. In spoken English, we use contractions all the time. Can't, don't, won't, isn't, aren't. They make our speech flow naturally. Without contractions, English sounds very formal or even robotic. So practice those contractions.
Good reminder. And grammatically, I used present simple again. Traditional programs follow instructions. Present simple for facts, habits, and general truths. The structure is simple. Subject plus base verb, or base verb plus s for third-person singular.
Exactly. And you also said AI can learn and improve, two verbs connected with and. This is called a compound verb phrase. We can connect verbs with and, or but. For example, I like to read and write, or she can sing or dance.
Perfect. Now, let's introduce a key term, machine learning. This is a compound noun, two words working together. Machine learning is a type of AI where systems learn from examples without being explicitly programmed for every situation.
Let's build the word family for learn. The verb is learn, the noun is learning, and there's also learner, which is the person who learns. The adjective, learned, meaning educated or knowledgeable. For example, he is a learned professor.
And there's a pronunciation point here, Morgana. Learned as an adjective is pronounced with two syllables, learn, ed. But learned as the past tense of learn is one syllable, learned. For example, I learned English versus a learned scholar.
Great catch, Jack. Pronunciation matters. Now let's talk about another important concept, neural networks. These are AI systems inspired by the human brain. They consist of layers of interconnected nodes like neurons.
Notice Morgana used inspired by. The preposition by shows the source or cause. We say inspired by, not inspired of or inspired from. Prepositions are tricky, but collocations help. Other examples, created by, designed by, written by.
And grammatically, I used present simple again. They consist of layers. Consist of is a phrasal verb, meaning be made up of. We can't separate it. We never say consist layers of. Always consist of together.
Exactly. Now, Morgana, here's a question many people ask. Is AI dangerous?
That's the big question, isn't it, Jack? Well, the answer isn't simple. It depends on how we use it. AI can be beneficial or harmful, depending on human decisions.
Let's analyze that sentence, Morgana. You used can be, which is modal, plus be. Then you used two adjectives, beneficial and harmful. These are opposites, or antonyms. Beneficial means helpful, good. Harmful means dangerous, bad. The root of beneficial is benefit, a noun, and harmful comes from harm, also a noun.
Exactly. And let's look at the word families. Benefit as a noun, benefit as a verb, beneficial as an adjective, and beneficially as an adverb. For example, this technology benefits society, or this is a beneficial change.
And for harm, harm is the noun. Harm is also the verb. Harmful is the adjective, and harmfully is the adverb. But we also have harmless, which means not dangerous. Notice the suffix less, which means without. Other examples, hopeless means without hope. Careless means without care.
Great explanation, Jack. Now, let's talk about some benefits of AI. AI can help doctors diagnose diseases faster. It can help scientists discover new medicines. It can even help us reduce energy consumption and fight climate change.
Notice the structure Morgana used. Can help plus object plus base verb. AI can help doctors diagnose diseases. The verb after help doesn't need to. We say help someone do something, not help someone to do something. Well, actually, both are correct, but native speakers usually drop the to in spoken English.
Good point, Jack. And let's look at vocabulary. Diagnose is a verb meaning to identify a disease. The noun is diagnosis. For example, the doctor made a diagnosis, or the doctor diagnosed the patient. The adjective is diagnostic, as in diagnostic tools.
And discover is another important verb. The noun is discovery. The adjective is discoverable. But here's a nuance. We discover things that already exist but were unknown. We invent things that never existed before. Columbus discovered America, but Edison invented the light bulb.
Excellent distinction, Jack. Now, what about the risks? AI can be used for surveillance. It can spread misinformation. It can even replace human jobs, causing unemployment.
Let's look at passive voice again. AI can be used for surveillance. That's modal plus be plus past participle. We use passive when the doer isn't important or isn't known. Active voice would be people can use AI for surveillance, but we're emphasizing the AI, not the people.
Exactly. And let's define surveillance. It means watching or monitoring people, often without their knowledge. The verb is surveil, though it's less common. More often, we say monitor or watch. The word comes from French, which is why the pronunciation is a bit tricky. Surveillance, stress on the second syllable.
And misinformation is a compound word made with the prefix mis. Mis means wrong or bad. Other examples: misunderstand, mistake, miscalculate. The root is information, which comes from inform, a verb. The word family: inform, information, informative, informatively.
Perfect breakdown. Now, Jack, here's something interesting. Job displacement. Some people worry that AI will take their jobs, but others believe AI will create new jobs. What do you think?
That's a complex issue, Morgana. I believe both things will happen. Some jobs will disappear, but new jobs will emerge. The key is adaptation. We need to learn new skills.
Let's look at the grammar there, Jack. You said both things will happen. That's future simple, will plus base verb. We use will for predictions about the future. The structure is easy: subject plus will plus base verb. We can also use the contraction I'll, you'll, he'll, and so on.
And I also used need to, which is a semi-modal verb. It expresses necessity or obligation. The structure is need to plus base verb. For example, we need to study, not we study need. The to is essential. This is different from modal verbs like must or should, which don't use to.
Great distinction. Now let's talk about emerge. This verb means to appear or come out. It's often used for new things or ideas. The noun is emergence. The adjective is emerging. For example, AI is an emerging technology, or the emergence of AI has been rapid.
And adaptation is the noun from adapt, the verb. The adjective is adaptable, meaning able to change. The adverb is adaptably. For example, she is very adaptable to new situations, or we must adapt to technological change.
Exactly. Now let's talk about specific jobs. AI is already helping in healthcare, finance, education, and transportation. In healthcare, AI can analyze medical images. In finance, it can detect fraud. In education, it can personalize learning. In transportation, it can power self-driving cars.
Notice Morgana used can repeatedly. This is called parallelism or parallel structure. When listing multiple things, we keep the grammar consistent. AI can analyze, it can detect, it can personalize, it can power, all the same structure. This makes the sentence clear and rhythmic.
Good observation, Jack. And let's look at collocations. We say detect fraud, not discover fraud or find fraud. Detect collocates with crimes, problems, or hidden things. Other examples: detect a pattern, detect a threat, detect an error.
And personalized learning is another collocation. Personalize means to customize for an individual. The noun is personalization, the adjective is personalized or personal. But personal has a different meaning. It means private or individual. For example, this is personal information versus this is a personalized lesson.
Great nuance. Now, here's a question for our listeners. Would you trust an AI to make important decisions for you? Think about it. We'll come back to this question later.
Good engagement, Morgana. And if you're enjoying this conversation, please give us a thumbs up and share this episode with your friends who are learning English. We really appreciate your support.
All right, Jack, let's move to the next big topic: autonomous agents. What are they exactly?
Great question. An autonomous agent is a system that can act independently without human intervention. It perceives its environment, makes decisions, and takes actions to achieve goals.
Let's break down that definition grammatically. Jack used present simple. An agent is a system that can act independently. The word that introduces a relative clause. Relative clauses give extra information about a noun. The structure is noun plus that or which plus verb.
Exactly. And I used without, which is a preposition meaning lacking or in the absence of. The opposite is with. For example, I went to the store without money versus I went with my friend. After without, we use a noun or gerund, never a conjugated verb.
Good point. Now let's look at vocabulary. Perceive means to become aware of through the senses. The noun is perception. The adjective is perceptive, meaning insightful or observant. For example, she is very perceptive about people's emotions, or his perception of the situation was accurate.
And intervention comes from the verb intervene, meaning to get involved or interfere. The adjective is interventionist. For example, the government has an interventionist policy, or he intervened in the argument.
Perfect. Now, Jack, can you give us some examples of autonomous agents in real life?
Sure. Self-driving cars are autonomous agents. They sense the road, make decisions about speed and direction, and drive without human control. Virtual assistants like Siri or Alexa are also autonomous agents. They understand your voice commands and perform tasks.
Let's analyze that. You used present simple again for general facts, and you used compound nouns, self-driving cars and virtual assistants. Compound nouns are very common in English. They're made of two or more words that work together as one concept. Other examples: coffee shop, bus stop, earthquake.
Good observation. And notice I said sense the road. Sense as a verb means to detect or perceive. The noun is sense. The adjective is sensory. The adverb is sensorially, though it's rarely used. For example, dogs have a strong sense of smell, or this is sensory information.
Exactly. Now, here's an interesting point. Autonomous agents operate in what we call real time. This means they respond immediately, without delay. The opposite is delayed or batch processing. Real-time systems are crucial for things like self-driving cars, where split-second decisions matter.
Great vocabulary, Morgana. Split second is a compound adjective meaning extremely fast, a fraction of a second. We use a hyphen because it modifies a noun. Other examples: last-minute decision, long-term plan, high-quality product. The hyphen shows that the words work together.
Perfect. Now, Jack, what's the difference between AI and an autonomous agent? Is every AI an autonomous agent?
Excellent question. Not every AI is autonomous. Some AI systems just provide recommendations but don't act independently. An autonomous agent must be able to make and execute decisions without waiting for human approval.
Let's look at the grammar. You said must be able to. That's a modal verb, must, followed by be able to. Must expresses strong necessity or certainty, and be able to expresses capability. Together, they mean it is necessary to have the capability. The structure is modal plus be able to plus base verb.
Great breakdown. And notice the contrast. Not every AI is autonomous, uses present simple negative with not. The contraction would be isn't, but I used is with not every for emphasis. Not every means some, but not all. It's different from no AI is autonomous, which would mean none at all.
Excellent nuance. Now let's talk about something really cool. Multi-agent systems. These are groups of autonomous agents that work together. For example, in a smart factory, multiple robots might collaborate to assemble products. Each robot is autonomous, but they coordinate with each other.
That's fascinating. And let's look at the word collaborate. It's a verb meaning to work together. The noun is collaboration. The adjective is collaborative. For example, this is a collaborative project, or their collaboration was successful. The prefix co means together, like in cooperate, coordinate, coexist.
Perfect word family. And coordinate is another important verb. It means to organize or harmonize. The noun is coordination, the adjective is coordinated. For example, they coordinated their efforts, or this requires good coordination.
Now, Morgana, let's talk about some challenges. Autonomous agents face both technical and ethical problems. Technically, they need to handle uncertainty and make decisions with incomplete information. Ethically, we need to ask, who is responsible if an autonomous agent makes a mistake?
Those are big questions, Jack. Let's look at the grammar. You used need to, which we discussed earlier, and you use conditional language. If an autonomous agent makes a mistake, this is a first conditional used for real possibilities in the future. The structure is if plus present simple, then who is responsible.
Exactly. First conditional shows cause and effect that might happen. The if clause uses present simple, but it refers to the future. The main clause can use various structures. For example, if it rains, I will stay home. Or if she calls, tell her I'm busy.
Perfect explanation. Now let's talk about uncertainty. This is a noun meaning lack of certainty or doubt. The adjective is uncertain. The opposite is certain or certainty. The prefix un makes it negative. Other examples with un are unhappy, unfair, uncomfortable, or unsafe.
Good point. And incomplete also uses a negative prefix, in or im before certain letters. Complete becomes incomplete. Other examples, incorrect, invisible, impossible, immature. The prefix changes slightly depending on the first letter of the word.
Exactly. Now, Jack, let's talk about responsibility. If a self-driving car causes an accident, who should be blamed? The car manufacturer, the software developer, the owner of the car?
That's the ethical dilemma. And let's look at that word, dilemma. It means a difficult choice between two options, both with downsides. The plural is dilemmas. For example, we face many ethical dilemmas with AI. Notice it's not dilemmas, that would be possessive, not plural.
Good grammar point. And blame is an interesting verb. It means to hold someone responsible for something bad. The noun is also blame. The adjective is blameless, meaning innocent. For example, don't blame me for the mistake, or she is blameless in this situation.
Exactly. Now, another challenge is bias. AI systems can have bias if they're trained on biased data. For example, if an AI hiring tool is trained mostly on data from male employees, it might unfairly favor male candidates.
Let's define bias. It's prejudice or unfairness favoring one thing over another. The verb is bias, though be biased is more common. The adjective is biased or unbiased. For example, this study is biased, or we need an unbiased opinion.
And notice the collocation, be trained on data. We say trained on, not trained with or trained by, when talking about the data itself. Prepositions matter. Other AI collocations, powered by AI, based on algorithms, driven by machine learning.
Perfect. Now, Jack, here's a question. Can we make AI systems transparent? I mean, can we understand why they make certain decisions?
That's a huge challenge, Morgana.
Many AI systems, especially deep neural networks, are like black boxes. We can see the input and output, but not the reasoning in between. This is called the explainability problem.
Let's look at the grammar. You said, we can see the input and output, but not the reasoning. This is a compound sentence with but connecting two clauses. But shows contrast. And notice you used not the reasoning instead of we cannot see the reasoning. This is ellipsis, where we omit repeated words for efficiency.
Great analysis. And explainability is a noun from the adjective explainable. The verb is explain, of course, but explainability is a relatively new term in AI. It means the degree to which humans can understand how an AI made a decision. For example, we need more explainability in our AI systems.
Exactly. And black box is a metaphor, a figurative expression. It means a system where you can't see what happens inside. The opposite is a white box or glass box, where everything is visible and understandable.
All right, Morgana, let's talk about the future. Where is all of this heading? What should we expect in the next 5 to 10 years?
Great question, Jack. I think we'll see AI become more integrated into our daily lives. More smart homes, more personalized services, more automation in workplaces. But I also think we'll have more regulations and ethical guidelines.
Let's analyze the grammar. Morgana used future simple, we will see, will have. But she also used an interesting structure, AI become more integrated. After see, we can use an object plus base verb. For example, I saw him leave, or we'll see AI grow. No to needed.
Good catch, Jack. And I used more to make comparatives. More integrated, more personalized, more automation. For longer adjectives, we use more plus the adjective. For short adjectives, we add er. For example, bigger, faster, smarter, but more intelligent, more beautiful, more complicated.
Exactly. Now, integrated means combined or incorporated into a whole. The verb is integrate, the noun is integration. For example, we need to integrate AI into our workflow, or integration takes time.
Perfect. Now, Jack, one thing I'm excited about is AI in education. Imagine every student having a personal tutor that adapts to their learning style, pace, and needs. That could revolutionize education.
That's a great vision, Morgana. Let's look at the grammar. You used imagine followed by a gerund phrase, every student having a personal tutor. After imagine, we use a gerund or a noun clause. For example, imagine learning anything you want, or imagine that you could fly.
Good point. And revolutionize is a strong verb meaning to completely change something. The noun is revolution, the adjective is revolutionary. For example, this is a revolutionary technology, or the digital revolution changed everything. Notice the word family all comes from revolve, meaning to turn or rotate.
Interesting etymology. Now, another area I'm excited about is healthcare. AI could help us detect diseases earlier, develop personalized treatments, and even predict health problems before they occur. That's predictive medicine.
Let's look at predictive. It's an adjective meaning forecasting or anticipating. The verb is predict, the noun is prediction. But predictive is often used in compounds: predictive analytics, predictive modeling, predictive maintenance. These are collocations common in tech and business.
Exactly. And occur means to happen or take place. The noun is occurrence. For example, this occurrence was unexpected. Notice the double C and double R in occurrence. That's a common spelling mistake.
Good spelling tip. Now, Jack, what about the risks? What worries you about the future of AI?
Honestly, I worry about job displacement, as we mentioned earlier. I also worry about surveillance and privacy. If AI can track everything we do, where do we draw the line? And I worry about AI being used for harmful purposes, like creating deepfakes or autonomous weapons.
Let's define deepfakes. It's a compound noun, a blend of deep learning and fake. Deepfakes are realistic but fake videos or images created by AI. They can be used to spread misinformation or harm someone's reputation.
And draw the line is an idiom meaning to set a limit or boundary. For example, I'll help you, but I draw the line at lying. Or, where do we draw the line between privacy and security?
It's a very common expression.
Perfect. Now, on a lighter note, Jack, here's something fun. AI is also being used in creative fields. AI can compose music, write poetry, create art, and even design fashion. What do you think about that?
I think it's fascinating and a bit controversial. Some people say AI can't be truly creative because it doesn't have emotions or consciousness. Others say creativity is just pattern recognition, and AI can do that brilliantly. What do you think, Morgana?
I think both views have merit. But let's look at the grammar. You used can't be, which is modal negative, and you said because it doesn't have, present simple negative. Doesn't is the contraction of does not, used for third person singular.
The structure is subject plus doesn't plus base verb.
Good analysis. And consciousness is a fascinating word. It means awareness or the state of being awake and aware. The adjective is conscious, the opposite is unconscious. For example, he was conscious during the surgery, or she made a conscious decision.
Exactly. And controversial means causing disagreement or debate. The noun is controversy. The verb is controvert, though it's rarely used. For example, this is a controversial topic, or the controversy continues.
Perfect. Now, before we wrap up, Jack, let's answer that question we asked earlier. Can machines actually think? This is the big question, Jack. And honestly, it depends on how you define thinking. If thinking means processing information and making decisions, then yes, machines can think. But if thinking requires consciousness, emotions, and self-awareness, then no, current machines can't think like humans do.
Great answer, Morgana. Let's look at the grammar. You used second conditional. If thinking requires consciousness, then machines can't think. Second conditional shows hypothetical or unlikely situations. The structure is if plus past simple, then would or could plus base verb. But you used requires, present simple, so it's actually a first conditional showing a real possibility.
Good correction, Jack. And let's define consciousness more carefully. It's the state of being aware of yourself and your surroundings. It's subjective experience. We don't fully understand how human consciousness works, so we can't say whether machines could ever have it.
And self-awareness is a compound noun, meaning awareness of oneself as a separate individual. The hyphen shows the words work together. The adjective is self-aware. For example, humans are self-aware beings, or this system lacks self-awareness.
Exactly. Now, there's a famous test called the Turing test, proposed by Alan Turing in 1950. The idea is, if a machine can have a conversation that's indistinguishable from a human conversation, then we can say the machine is intelligent.
Let's look at indistinguishable. It means impossible to tell apart. The prefix in makes it negative. The root is distinguish, meaning to recognize the difference. The noun is distinction. For example, there's a distinction between AI and human intelligence, or I can't distinguish between the two.
Perfect breakdown. And proposed by is passive voice again. The test was proposed by Alan Turing. We use by to show who did the action in passive voice. The structure is be plus past participle plus by plus agent.
Exactly. Now, many modern AI systems can pass simplified versions of the Turing test. Chatbots can sound very human, but does that mean they're conscious? That's still debated.
And debated is the past participle of debate, used here in passive voice. The noun is debate, meaning a formal discussion. For example, the debate continues, or this issue is widely debated.
Perfect. Now, Morgana, here's my opinion. I don't think machines currently think like humans. They process information brilliantly, but they don't have experiences, emotions, or desires. They don't feel joy or pain. They don't have goals they've chosen for themselves.
I agree, Jack. And let's look at the grammar. You used present simple negative. They don't have experiences. And you used present simple for emphasis. They don't feel joy. Repeating don't emphasizes each point separately. This is a rhetorical technique for impact.
Good observation. And notice I said goals they've chosen for themselves. That's present perfect, have chosen. We use present perfect for actions with relevance to now. The structure is have or has plus past participle. For example, I have learned English, or she has finished her work.
Exactly. Now, Jack, what about the future? Could machines ever become truly conscious?
That's a philosophical and scientific mystery, Morgana. Some scientists think it's possible that consciousness is just information processing at a certain level of complexity. Others think consciousness requires something special that machines will never have. Honestly, we don't know yet.
And that's okay, Jack. Not knowing keeps us curious and humble. Let's look at humble. It means modest or not arrogant. The noun is humility. The adverb is humbly. For example, he spoke humbly about his achievements. Or, she has great humility despite her success.
Beautiful word, Morgana. And speaking of success, if you've made it this far in the episode, congratulations. You've learned so much today. Please leave a comment telling us, what's your opinion on AI? Do you think machines can ever truly think?
All right, Jack, let's quickly recap what we covered today. We talked about artificial intelligence and autonomous agents. We learned about the differences between traditional programs and AI, the benefits and risks, and the ethical challenges.
And we learned a ton of English, Morgana. We covered present simple, present perfect, passive voice, modal verbs, and conditionals. We built word families like intelligent, intelligence, intelligently. We learned collocations like make a decision, detect fraud, and draw the line.
Exactly. And we practice pronunciation, like the difference between learned and learned, and word stress patterns. We also learned about compound nouns, prefixes, suffixes, and idioms. I hope you took notes.
Great summary, Morgana. And remember, learning English is a journey. Don't worry about perfection. Focus on progress. Listen to native speakers, practice regularly, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. Mistakes are how we learn.
Beautiful advice, Jack. And let's look at the grammar there. You use imperatives. Don't worry, focus on progress, listen to native speakers. Imperatives are commands or advice. The structure is simple. Base verb, sometimes with don't for negative. For example, study every day or don't give up.
Perfect explanation. Now, before we go, we want to hear from you. What did you learn today? What was your favorite part of the episode? And what topic should we cover next? Leave a comment and let us know.
And if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to our channel, give us a thumbs up, and share it with your friends who are learning English. Your support means everything to us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us today on Sense and Sound. I'm Jack.
And I'm Morgana. Until next time, keep learning, keep practicing, and keep exploring this beautiful language. Bye, everyone.
See you next time. Bye.